Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to another episode of Connect with the Quran. You're here with Najman Sari, and we were looking at Surah Nahal. So it's a long surah, so we just got sort of halfway through, and now we'll just listen to a recording of the little passage on when Allah is talking about the bee, because that's where this surah takes its name, and that's on ayah 68, if I'm not mistaken. So Bismillah, we'll listen to a recording of that.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
And Sadaqullah al-Azim to the recording we just heard. I'm sorry it didn't have the translation this time, and funnily enough, they had ants showing instead, which will come up further in Surah Naml, and they didn't show the bee, but that's just the recording I managed to pick up, so forgive me for that, and the fact that it didn't have the recording. So I'm going to pick up from ayah 66, which says that it talks about the cattle where you find within their bodies, between excreta and blood, you find the milk. And that, which is so pure and agreeable. So lots of extrapolations to take. Whatever is mentioned in the Quran is, then obviously there is a mercy, there's a goodness in milk. And in this ayah, when it specifically talks about between A and B, you find the milk, between the blood and so on. So if you look at our own body, at our own faces, somebody gave a quiz. So that, somebody was famous in I don't know which era, who was good at making quiz and asking you things. So there was something like a quiz about, say, what is it that within this small span of space, you've got 3 rivers flowing? And it was like, where on earth do you have 3 simultaneously rivers going or something? And it was the tears, the saliva, and what comes out of the ears too, or whether it was a nose, eyes, or tears, ENT, or whichever one. But the point being that you have liquids all here, and they're all different. One is salty, one is something else, one is something else. But the point was that how can, just subhanAllah, on nature. Yes, we're talking about milk and we can go on to that, but on anything, subhanAllah, how does this covering, this epidermis, keep everything in place and intact? So that's what listening to these ayahs need to just evoke in us of subhanAllah. Look at this then. That wasn't picked up there, but look how it is here at every single matter. So after that, from fruit, from the date palm, the vine and everything, and then what we heard, the passage on the bee, of that, it taught, Allah gave it guidance over Aha, that He gave her wahi to go here, there, and there. And back to the word Aha, which is on wahi, you can go right back into the beginning where we talked about that Allah sends His angels in ayah 2, يُنَزِّلُ الْمَلَائِكَةَ بِالرُّوحِ مِنْ أَمْرِهِ, and what it was for, the amr there was for wahi, and that's so it the same word hasn't appeared there, but what I'm trying to say that the bringer of it and the fact that Allah inspires the bee is the wahi that Jibreel alayhi salam brings down to all the prophets as well. So that's just another side note. It was just a deviation, but it's to say, and then it tells us to eat everything of the produce, and then when it does, what comes out of again from its body, and it's from different alwan. Alwanuha is from its bodies, from its belly comes out this beautiful drink of varying color, which is a healing for man. Okay, so it talks about shifa'un linnas, and in this is the sign for those who think and ponder. And we should be pondering, people. When we are pondering, actually, I talked about the blessing of having social media, the phones, and how we can use it for good. But everything is in equal measure about shar and khair. If you use it for goodness, it's good. If you use it for badness, it's bad. And so the thing is that now we have stopped thinking. We have stopped doing fikr and pondering. Before a child could be just looking out of the window enjoying it, and you say, "What are you doing?" So, "I'm just looking. I'm just looking at the stars, the sun, the moon, the trees, or whatever." And there was great tafakkur of just being able to absorb things as they were. Now, this onslaught of media, you don't have a moment of peace. Everything is just like, okay, and because it is guiding you, these are the shoes you need to buy, this is this, it's all about brands, brands, brand. I was just listening to somebody, and he, from wherever it was, he said, we are so hooked to brands. We're so hooked to brands. I wish one day I'm going to share with you a poem about how brands are everything. Once upon a time, we had what was called hand-me-downs. You could actually wear what your mother wore, what your grandmother wore, and those were the things that came down to you, or even in siblings, uniform, the same gray trousers for one, for the second, for the third, or whatever, until it got really, worn out. But no, now everything has to be brand. I mean, these stupid school bags that the kids have to take, they have to be branded. Can't we get just a plain old one or something? But this is just what goes on about tafakkur, that we don't think. And then here is the ayah, which instead I mentioned was maybe in Surah Hijr, but I was mistaken. It's in Surah 70 when Allah says that He creates you and then takes your soul at death, or some of you He sends you back to a feeble old age, and that after knowing much, they knew nothing, and then they have to be served. So that's all. Allah forgive, forbid that it comes to us, but it is. And the trouble is that we at this age, when we seem to be functional, we can't imagine us being in that. For a 10-year-old, the young recruits in the army, 18, 19-year-old, they seem so old. They're in uniform and they're this. When you pass their age, they seem like babies, and you look up to 30, 40-year-old. And so as you age, this happens. But that's it. And so, and then the other thing, that Allah gives some more and less, but then no, the test is commiserated with what they get. So, and I always love telling people, that, you are more fortunate because you will have less hisab to give. And I'm sure they roll their eyes. I say, yeah, well, I don't know about the hisab, but I'd rather be in your position than my position. Allahu Alam. But the thing is that, no, like we said before, that we're responsible for the burden that the other carries also, and so on. So, but just moving on, that Allah again talks about that the hour will come. They keep asking about the hour. They keep asking, and I'm on ayah 77 now, that it will be like a twinkling or an eye, even quicker, and it's right there. But while you're waiting and drumming your fingers or something, that's, you think that's what it is, but it's actually going to be very quick. And I love just to bring in that beautiful dua that we say, Allahumma, don't leave us for a tarfata ayn, not for a blink of an eye, leave us to our own devices, and you sort out all that you have to do for us. So that's just bringing at any moment, no, any minute. And it is in a blink of an eye, because I'm sitting here now, God knows, going, oh, you conk off, I conk off. And so you need this constant awareness of for tafakkur, of the blessings, of your vulnerability, my vulnerability, of how we can conquer off. And the beauty is that this is what anger does to us. The moment you're angry, you forget. You want to blast your worker. She didn't do the work. She didn't do this. She might want to present 10 excuses, and you're like, no, those, you're always giving us excuses, and da da da. So all of those things, you need to really be present, of knowing where are you. And so whether you look at the birds in ayah 79, of how they are, the birds are oft frequently mentioned, of who keeps them up, and so on. So these kind of and Allah is constantly reminding you again of your favors, your homes, your tranquility, how you stay in the shade. And I love the ayah where it says, that even the shadows, they do sajda also. But it's just endless. And I haven't even got to where I wanted to go to, but we will take a short break and then come back after that, and then continue on this on this surah, because it's just beautiful on the favors, and use that as a trigger point to keep thinking and pondering. So with that, I'll just take a short ad break, and then we'll be back. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. You're here with me, Najman Sari, and we're going through Surah Nahl, and we're trying to connect with the Quran by looking at the ayahs, the surahs. I'm just sharing whatever comes to me, and I'm not just going to share. It's so 128 ayahs, so there's no way you can just do that, encapsulate it in 1 minute. But yes, it talks about Tawheed, about warning, and so on. I want to now take you to ayah 90, and this is a beautiful passage. And you know what's lovely, like we did in Surah Yunus, of it saying wa akhiru dawahum anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen, that the last words that are being said is hum to Allah. And so there elsewhere we often finish off with subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun alal mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. That comes in Surah Safat, if I'm not mistaken, and Allah forgive me if I am, but inshallah you will be able to find it. Here in Surah 90, I love it because it starts with what is used on the Friday khutbah. Invariably, this is read, and forgive my tajweed, but it's in Allah yamuru bil adli wal ihsan wa ita'i zil qurba wal yatama wa yanha anil fashai wal munkar wal bagh. يَعِظُكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ. And it says Allah commands justice, to do of good, to the liberty of the kin, the kith, and He forbids that you do shameful deeds, you do injustice and rebellion, and He instructs you so that you may لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ, you may do dhikr, you may receive admonishment and all. And this, if I would love to memorize it, I've been trying for a bit, and it's what is said every Friday. And the beauty of this sort of thing is that often we go, there's a khutbah in Arabic, we haven't understood a word, we don't understand. But as soon as you try and connect with the Quran, and you will be able to infrequently capture whatever they're talking about. Sometimes it's about sabr, so they'll quote an ayah of sabr, inshallah, if you know it. Sometimes it's on anger. And you'll find in yourself just another state of being able to, wow, I know what they were talking about. It doesn't often happen to me, but I'm saying that this is what we need to be aspiring for, of being in understanding, because already you're on Friday, you've already done half your sunnahs and so on, and you're sitting there and you're listening, so your radars are more open and receptive to catch. Now, if you don't know the Arabic, you've lost another bit of the blessing. So yes, for those who were ignorant, they were told that they should even be going over the ayahs just with their finger and nine, so that it's being absorbed in their eyes. So these are all like baby steps. It's like a toolkit for you to keep moving on. So, but you don't hang on to just and work with the toolkit. You want to improve yourself and get better. So this is a beautiful ayah which I love, and I'm not going to go into the detail of what it means, but it talks about justice. It's kind of like encapsulating what is the essence of this is what you need to be doing in life. And now I just want to get towards the end of the surah, where it says uh, a few things about, well, yeah, let me just get to the end and then I want to come back and pick up on something from the beginning. But at the tail end of the surah, and I'm just going to read you the English now, of from ayah 125. And it's a beautiful passage which goes, it says, Adu ila sabilihi rabbika bil hikmati wal mau'izati. And I'll stop, bil mau'izati hasana. And it says, and invite all to the way of your Lord with wisdom and preaching and beautiful preaching, and argue with them in the best ways and the most gracious. For your Allah knows best who strays and who stays on guidance. And then he goes on to say, but if you catch them out, then catch them out no worse than they catch you out. But if you show patience, that is the best course for those who show patience. And then it goes on to say, and if you show patience for and do you be patient for your patience is nothing but from Allah. He's with it, and don't grieve over them, distress yourself over them. And then Allah is with those who restrain themselves, and those are those who do good. So just I should have read the bit by bit, because sometimes it's easier when you just read one and give the meaning of that. It gets absorbed more than rather than read a big passage, you forget what the last one was or what the first one was, and so on. But Allah accept and let it be of merit and something, sink in for us. So this beautiful bit about, preaching with Moisa. We do it at our level. We do it with everybody we come across. The best way, obviously, is by our courtesy. We show, whether it's at the shop or whether it's here or there. Those are the good ways to show it. So there is a baseline of what just in our being with La ilaha illallah, something should act as a point of dawah. And then, through Quran studies or something, when you know something better, you can do that and so on. So you can't say there are levels of who does dawah at what level of what they're getting to. But how we present is that stay authentic to the source. Many, and that's why doing tabligh or dawah within your own Muslim people is best, because today we do have this thing about the secular, the average middle class Muslim who's just working to live and so on. So we are secularized to the last degree, in that we truly don't believe that the Quran has the answers. We truly don't believe because everything done before was just outdated. They were talking about camels. Today we have SUVs, whatever. And one of the beautiful examples is, well, then, no, the answer is there, but get your act together and keep working and finding for it. The essence is always there, but just because they're talking about camel and sheep, it doesn't mean that that doesn't apply. We're talking about horses, donkeys, everything, brands of what you like. As soon as you pick on that today, you know what you like. You like your brand. So there we go. So draw from the wells of the past. Stay connected with the past of knowing what your Mufassir said and draw from it. This is for that. But the truth is that we don't think that the Quran has the answers. We don't think so. We think it's just for blessings, just read it on the dead and just move on from there. And instead, this Moiza Hasana is to get to, you have to appeal to know that you're being heard. If somebody's just listening here as a background music or just as a time filler, or just you're flipping through the page, just looking at what specials are coming up in the whatever in the shops, and then obviously nothing's going to work. So we need to ensure that when we, especially on a one-to-one basis, and that sometimes, that what you are saying, you are connecting. You are meeting them where they are. Your heart is open to hearing what comes back to you and replying, and not just have this mechanical, rattle it off whether I understand it or not, but that's what is being said. The message that will go penetrate here is what can come out. And the more I can be saying it, what comes from the heart, rather than having to look and check and read verbatim from a text, that doesn't carry the same passion and love for the Quran of, but this has the answer. This has the answer. This comes there. Yes, we will derail, we'll derail time and again, but just come back to that. And the solace this gives you. So if you are able to do the Moizatun Hasanatan, that is what will, and argue with them in the best way. And elsewhere in Suriname, we had it. And when you can't, just move away. Don't sit and don't be hooked to the idea that I need to give my word. Don't let it become a prestige issue, we used to call it. Now we call it the ego issue. Don't let it be a matter of that. And then to go on that you can retaliate in kind, but to what it is. If somebody, I think it's horrible when we Muslims reduce to swearing. Swear words is just the pits. So if somebody said something, I know more vocabulary, I know more swear words, let me just bounce it back. So if you catch them out to no worse than what they have said to you. And then the thing about illa billah, that your patience is only with Allah. It's only comes, true patience really only comes with them. So yes, we can say, but as soon as you say inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi rajiun, other things, there is a moment where goodness comes and it does give you solace. And when it doesn't, we need to take it upon myself. I said, well, I read so much. I read Yasin 40 times and this and that, and nothing happened. Well, then take it upon myself. With what Nia did I read it? With how randomly, how I was just looking what everybody else is doing, and instead of just concentrating on what I am. So all those things matter greatly. And then in the last ayah, when it says, Inna Allaha ma'alladhina taqu walladhina hum muhsinun. So it beautifully it catches back from right at the beginning when it says that have taqwa, and it said when the best way of getting there, let me just get there because I would like to see if I can read that to you, is and I can't find it, as it often happens when I'm randomly going through it, but it's a moiza. It's what is it that keeps us on track? And what keeps us on track is with taqwa, you evolve to be in hasana. The baseline is, the very beginning is that you have to be in taqwa, and then you can slowly move on. And so it goes on that as your love for the Quran increases, so your level of ihsan, love you will get to that level, inshallah. We strive to our dying days, and it's never that I've arrived. Nobody, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he used to pray so much, and Aisha radhiyallahu anha asked him, aren't you? He said, well, shouldn't I be thankful? Shouldn't I be thankful? And he would always take it on himself, thinking that he hasn't done enough. So the onus is on us to do dawah, to get out there, not necessarily because we're quoting always the Quran, but just with our akhlaq, with our being in the best mold of our actions. So with that, I think I'll have to end, and inshallah we will move on to next surah next time. And for now, it's Subhana Rabbika Rabbil Izzati Amma Yasifun, wa Salamun al Mursaleen, walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wa akhiru dawahum and alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Please remember me in your du'as as I remember all of you out there, and inshallah we'll meet next week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.